Our session on neuro-ophthalmology will return back to some sober session. No more scintillating photomas. You will see some light. And thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar, for this opportunity. So on the day of clinical exam, most probably you will get refraction case as one of the last cases or last part of your examination, and if you have not done your clinical portion well, and this is literally a lead kindly light scenario, so you have to depend on the retinoscopy light to lead you out of the examinations. So the refraction case would be your hope and savior in this regard, but in the real world of practice, and it is your savior. So this is part of your syllabus. The refraction is part of your syllabus, since you need to know the basic knowledge of refraction as well as the fitting methodologies, lenses and dispensing of glasses. So it's an integral part of an ophthalmologist's job, so you need to have a working knowledge about lenses, frames and process of dispensing. So I'll just tell you some of the examination tricks. Retinoscopy is not very difficult. What you need to do is constant practice, because you are joining a elite club of ophthalmologists where retinoscopy and refraction, who have raised this thing to a visual art. And during examination, when you are doing this, keep your cool. It's very important you are calm and relaxed, otherwise you will not see anything, even if the light is very bright. So presenting a refraction case, the final diagnosis and exact treatment is easy, but the steps leading to diagnosis has to be mastered. So for this you need to practice, practice and practice. This is during your 2 or 3 years of post-graduation and not during the last day of your examination. It's very essential you take your daily work diary in case you don't get refraction or retinoscopy case on dot. This will really help you to convince the examiners. A look into the pages will enable your examiner to have a good impression on you. Some examiners allow history taking, some exams history of wearing glasses, power of present glasses and contact lenses will really help. History of systemic disorders, particularly diabetes, you need to mention, and family history should be listed in conditions like myopia and if they have squint, and symptoms like double vision, eye strain, headache really help in coming at a diagnosis. First of all, you need to know the visual demand of the patients, whatever profession they are in. All professionals have their unique needs. So in preliminary exam, you need to record the visual acuity, ocular motility and binocular function. And it's preferable you do this tower test, corneal reflex test, ocular motility and pupillary function. Even though you may not write in the case record, it's necessary you know this. And you need, if they are already wearing glasses, do a present glass check. So there will be some questions on retinoscopy. Why should you do it? Why is it important? And what all information you get out of retinoscopy? And how it is different from the autorefractor? And how you keep improving your technique as it goes on? But these are fundamental questions. You need to know the answers about this. There are basically 2 types of retinoscopy, static and dynamic. Static is generally for routine refractions with the patient viewing at a distant target. So you are supposed to do a static retinoscopy. And when the patient focuses on a near target, and if you determine the accommodation and residual accommodation in a cycloplegia patient, then this dynamic retinoscopy. So one oft-repeated question in exam is, what is the aim of retinoscopy and what is the endpoint? So the aim of retinoscopy is to find the lens that will stop the red reflex from moving. So basically the endpoint or point of reversal is the aim of retinoscopy. So when you view through the side pole, you will see the red reflex, and these are certain things. The retinal reflex looks like a narrow band of red light that covers part of the pupil. And you have a trial lens, you will also see the light reflect on the rim. So ideally you should have a trial lens without rim or black coated rim so that it doesn't reflect. So this is with movement. So when you move, when the retinal reflex moves in the same direction as the sweeping motion of your streak retinoscope, it is called as with movement. You can see in the lower picture. And against movement is when you move the retinoscope streak, the reflex moves in the opposite direction. So this is just to brush up your memory, and this is the point of neutralization. See, there is no movement. So few tips on this. So what you have to focus during retinoscopy is the movement with or against, and then if the movement is with, add a positive lens or plus lens, and if the movement is against, add a minus lens. And you also should concentrate on see whether the reflex is bright or dull. If the reflex is dull, then start with the larger power. So if it is, you have to see the bright reflex. That means you are closer to the endpoint. So if it's bright, you can use a smaller power. So the movement, basically, this is what you are determining in retinoscopy. So movement of red reflex, no movement, against movement, and with movement. So now all these things have become easy in the practical practice area, that is with the advent of the automated refractors. You also have to know the difference between the retinoscopy results and AR results. You should also know about the pros and cons of this instrument. And then you come to the subjective verification. Ideal thing is to start with the duochrome. So the best sphere, what you give to the patient, is the maximum plus power, which gives the best possible visual acuity. Okay, so by increasing the plus power, you will see whether the vision is worse, or adding a minus power, you will see whether the vision is getting better. So if it's a presbyopic patient, you have to know about the approximate correction for near vision error. So this is the general rule, but it may vary from patient to patient, depends on the occupation as well as the general health of the patients. So then you have to write a prescription. So after you arrive at the retinoscopy results and know the near vision error, you have to write a prescription for that patient. And this is the accepted prescription model. You have to give power for the right eye, left eye, then spherical, cylindrical, then give the axis, and maybe in advanced refraction, they might ask you about the prism and how do you give the prism. Then you have to give the reading addition if the patient is above 35 or require a reading glass. So generally, after all these things, many examiners are fond of this question, the cycloplegic refraction. So what are the indications and whom all do you do cycloplegic refractions? So all patients below the age of 12 or 10, you need to do cycloplegic refraction. And all cases of suspected accommodative spasm. And if there is a squint, and patient below the age of 30 years with a manifest hypermetropia. And if you feel there is a gross difference between the present power as well as the dynamic refraction, you need to do a cycloplegic refraction. And symptomatic patient who shows signs of astigmatism, you need to do cycloplegic refraction. And when you advocate post-Mendiatic test, this is one of the common repeated questions. Only when dynamic and static refraction showed there is a difference of axis as well as power. And date again for PMT varies according to the cycloplegic or Mendiatic. This is a general time period. For atropine 2 weeks, cyclopin 48 hours, and tropicamide a day. And the olden day examiners are very fond of this transposition. After you give the prescription, and particularly if you want to give that in a minor cylinder form, you need to transpose. So these are the steps in transposition. The prescription for a lens can be written in plus cylinder form or a minus cylinder. Minus cylinder is always better because it's easy for the dispensing optician to make it. And here this cylinder power stays the same. The cylinder sign changes. So suppose it's plus, it becomes minus. The cylinder axis again changes by 90 degree. And at the sphere power and the old cylindrical power to obtain the new sphere. So new sphere is a combination of old sphere power and the old cylindrical power. So then you have to give the full diagnosis so that will sum up your presenting the refraction case. You have to give them the prescription, and you also have to give advice on the single vision, bifocal or progressive requirement. So some of the examiners are fond of this practical elements in refraction, how you verify the spectacles, particularly if you are wearing a glass or the examiner is wearing glass, they will give you the glass and ask you to tell you the power. So this is a common thing that happens in the practical exam. So how you check the lens power, then you have to check the cylindrical axis. If there is a trial set, we can do this. Otherwise, you just have to judge the glass prescription by a simple inspection like this. So you have to move the glass back and forth to look for with power or against movement. Suppose it's with, it's a minus lens, it's against, it's a plus lens. If there is image magnification, it is a plus lens. If it's magnification, it's a minus lens. And you also have to look at the lower portion. Most of the examiners are quite old. They will have a presbyopic correction given. So you have to look for the magnification and peripheral distortion in the lower half of the glasses. So that indicates progressive bifocals. And you also need to learn about troubleshooting with glasses. What are the problems with glasses? What are the other options for corrections, particularly contact lens or LASIK? And surgical modalities of treatment. Suppose you have done very well in the clinical examination, they can go this far. The modalities of treatment, the laser corrections and the presbyopic corrections available. And they can also ask you about some preventive aspects. So that completes some of the questions and problems you face in presenting your refraction case. So refraction is a great scope, not only in the exam, but all aspects of ophthalmic practice. So you need to concentrate on your retinoscopy and refraction practice to have a good ophthalmic practice later on.